What's going on, guys? Kaoiji here. So I decided that I'm gonna make this a series. So welcome to story time. So did I ever tell you guys about the time where somebody came into my chat one day and they told me that anime was smuggled during World War II? Like, this lives rent free in my head. They literally came into my chat one day and told me that anime was smuggled into the United States during World War II. So I was playing PS2 one day and one of my regulars decides to come in a chat. You know, we're having a good time, we're all vibing, it's a really good time. And one of the things that I personally like to talk about is anime. I watch a ton of it. And personally, I have some very strong opinions about a lot of this series that people deem are popular. So we started the day with talking about random different series, about, you know, their soundtracks and how good they were. So I was like, you know what? One of the most iconic soundtracks, even though I personally don't like the anime series, was Naruto. Like, you don't need to listen to Naruto to be able to be like, man, that's still a banger song, right? Or watch Naruto, rather. So anyway, so we're sitting there, we're talking about a whole bunch of anime series. We're talking about Cowboy Bebop. We're talking about Naruto. We're talking about Bleach. We're talking about Attack on Titan. And I'm saying a lot of these have really good soundtracks. But when we got to the topic of Bleach, I gave them my hot take. Now, I just want to preface this by saying I still like Bleach. I think it's an incredible manga, but the anime could have done better. So I'm hoping that when the anime comes back, because they did say that they're going to finish out the actual series, that it's badass, man. Because despite the convolutedness behind Bleach, it does what most anime should do, which is give like credence to some of the side characters that really would never get any other screen time in any other anime. Quite frankly, the only other anime to really do this is My Hero Academia, you know what I mean? So anyway, we get onto the topic of Bleach, and this guy decides to go off the wall crazy, talking about how it was the best soundtrack of all time. There's nothing better than Bleach. And I was like, okay, guy, hold on, relax. So as we continue the conversation, we start talking about the history of anime, right? I don't know how we got here, or at least history of anime in the West, right? I started talking about things like City of Sin and Vampire Hunter D, and like on late night HBO or Showtime in the US. And then I start talking about things like, you know, how Toonami was really one of the big reasons as to why anime got super popular back in like the early 2000s, or at least started to become popular. So I stepped on a landmine here and I didn't know how I did it. This guy was saying that like Vampire Hunter D was the reason why, you know, anime was starting to get popular in the West. It was one of the greatest movies of all time. And I'm like, it was good, but I don't know about that good. So we start going into, you know, how the effects of Toonami and anyway, so by the end of the conversation, the guy goes crazy. And I swear to God, it was the most off the wall thing I've ever heard. He starts talking about how he wrote a college paper about anime and how it was one of these big things for him and how he got an A on his college paper. His professor was like, this is the greatest report that he's ever seen on the topic. And I'm like, okay, but can we get to the point? I come back at him with like, okay, but you say all this, but anime was originally marketed towards children, like, and young adults. That's the entire genre of anime. It has always been marketed towards children and young adults. And he goes, that's wrong. I wrote it in a college paper. It was actually propaganda during World War II. So yeah, prior to the inception of things like Astro Boy, they actually used anime as a form of propaganda within Japan to be able to market it towards people who were passing by because it was pleasing to the eye. But it didn't end there. He then starts going off on this next tangent about how anime was still never marketed towards children and young adults. It was actually only meant to be marketed towards adults during this time, and that anime during World War II was smuggled into the United States. So at this point, I'm streaming Phantasy Online 2 and I feel bad, right? Because we were just vibing and now I'm heated. This guy's heated. The conversation has gone to a place where I don't even know we can come back from it. So I had to ban the guy, right? And honestly, I was like, you know what? If you're going to ruin the good vibes, because I'm just a good vibe kind of guy, at this point, this has gone on for too long. This conversation went on for about an hour, when it was meant to just be something where it's like, hey, let's talk anime, chat. I really like it. So, you know, let's continue our conversations that we normally have. It lives rent free in my head, mainly because of how insane it was, but because it was just a regular viewer and I actually really liked him. You know, he was a cool dude up until that moment. So now I have to ask you guys real quick. Do you guys talk about anime very often? And if you do talk about anime very often, what is something that you want to share? What is the craziest conversation that you've ever been a part of? And if you make it to this point of the video, if you guys want to do me a favor and like, comment, and subscribe, that'd be great. But then also let me know your thoughts on story time. I'm trying to experiment with different avenues of content, and I want to see what sticks with you guys the best. I'm still going to be doing PSO2 informational videos and stuff like that, but I want to add something just a little bit more, so that way, you know, at slow periods, we can still put out PSO2 content. I'm probably going to keep story time into things that happened during my experience in PSO2, so hopefully that makes sense. But anyway, guys, thank you guys again for watching. As always, stay awesome, stay beautiful. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace. I'm out.